Hi Lauren, hope you've been well. Thanks for sending me the video. It was really great to listen to. I got a lot of thoughts around what I'd like to talk about. I guess where I'd like to start is you asked a question about what it would be like to be both a parent and a child. Uh, it's one of those feelings where you're pressed in from both sides. I mean, at this point, I have responsibilities toward my children, and I also have responsibility towards my parents. They're getting quite old, so it's one of those middle-aged situations where you're being pulled in two directions. Um, I would think you'd make a very good mother. I It's my hope that maybe one day you will be. Provided you find the right partner. I would also say that a big part of motherhood is dependent on the chemistry between you and your child, and that's not anything that you can really predict. It's something that's completely out of our hands. Our first child was a very headstrong child, and given what you said about the relationship between you and your father, it sounds like that was probably the case with you and your father. You seem like a strong personality to me, so I wouldn't be surprised that, the chemistry just wasn't there, or, the chemistry made the situation more difficult between you and your father. He sounds like he would be a difficult man to get along with in any case. He sounds like it also sounds like he takes up a lot of oxygen. Big personality. You told me that before, and it's interesting to hear how much he seems to um, command, center stage in the family. I was very much affected by what you said about you and your mother. When she would say, whenever you'd ask her a question, she said, "I don't care." It sounds like she was depressed, and that's really a shame. Um, it also sounds like she really wasn't ready to be a mother, as you said. She was maybe too young, or she just hadn't come to a point in her life when she was ready. Which sounds hard. That sounds really hard. My own relationship with my mother, she had already had two children, so it wasn't like she didn't know what was coming. I was her first son, so evidently at the outset she was thrilled. I think I was different, being male. Evidently, she said that I used to have temper tantrums that would really freak her out. I wonder if that was something in the relationship because, as I recall, there were times when she was available and times when she was not. I mean, it was one of those situations where I think I had a very good relationship with her as a child, and then there were other times where I did not have a good relationship with her. I mean, it was an off and on type of thing, um, which was difficult. It makes me more vulnerable to people's changes in mood. I'm very affected by that. I'm very attuned to people's moods. I think also, I don't know when she started drinking, but alcoholism was certainly a dimension in our relationship, if you want to put it that way. By the time I was in high school, uh, she she would she would become very maudlin when she drank, and it was both irritating and sad to see. I'm not sure if she wasn't drinking before that, but I just didn't have the wherewithal to recognize when it was happening. I think when we all left um, home in high school because we all went off to prep schools, so that was probably difficult for her, and maybe that's what pitched her into a depression that made her drink. I'm not sure when it was, but in any event, um, she could be quite brittle emotionally when she got older. I think, yeah, I think our leaving the house was hard on her because her reason for being, or her reason for living, being a mother, was no longer uh, sufficient. I guess to answer your question about what it's like to be a parent, um, thinking about that some more. I mean, I know I've already given you a kind of an answer, but for me, yeah, it really depended on the chemistry of the two kids. The first one, Livia, um, very headstrong, as I said, very imaginative kid, very quick mind. Really a lot of fun to be around when she wasn't, being difficult. That said, the second one, Lucy, could be very sweet, but she had terrible temper tantrums, much worse than Livia's temper tantrums. And that created a very difficult kind of dynamic. There were times when I remember one time we had to go someplace and Lucy refused to go, and I literally had to pick her up and put her under my arm as she was flailing and screaming because we had to go, and she wasn't letting me take her anywhere. So it's definitely challenging being a parent. I'd say I was probably more involved in the day to day than most dads because, being an artist and a stay at home dad, a lot of the time I um, would take care of them during the day, wipe their butts, change their diapers. I mean, so I had I was involved in a lot of the nitty gritty when they were quite little. I got a job working as a computer programmer, and that was when they were both in lower school. And so at that point, I was less involved. My wife was also working, but we had them in daycare, and also in school. So at that point, I think I was not as tuned into what was going on with them on a daily basis. But still, I've always been pretty present. I'm a very different father from what your dad sounds like. I was kind of the good cop to Margaret. My wife's a bad cop. I was much more permissive as far as what they would do, and certainly there were times when Margaret would get upset with me because we wouldn't provide a united front on disciplinary issues. There was even a dynamic where Margaret and Livia, the older one, would get into fights a lot, and I would try to mediate between the two of them, and that was also difficult. Margaret said that I was undermining her by trying to mediate between them. Anyway, this was a dynamic that went on for a long time. So um, it's gotten a lot better. I mean, one of the things it's funny how the roles have changed. I mean, uh, when Livy and Lucy were little, I was the nice one and mommy was the mean one, and that's not uncommon in a lot of families these days. The father is more permissive and indulgent, and the wife is the one who sets down the rules. The mother's the one who sets down the rules. Uh, I found that my role towards them changed a lot once they started to mature and become women. Um, when they started to come into puberty and dealing with the whole social dimension, my wife got a lot closer to them. That's also when, but it's also when, especially with Livia, the older one, that's when a lot of the fights really reached their pitch because Livia was a very headstrong teenager, and so there were a lot of arguments over you know, the type of things that teenagers do, like staying out late. She had a steady boyfriend, which was good, so we didn't have to worry about that. I let my wife talk to Livy about the birth control. Livy never would have come to me for that, so I mean, so I think it's just as well. Um, but there was a way in which Livia still saw me as uh, the good guy, I guess. But her attitude towards me was also changing when it began to dawn on her that I was not the principal breadwinner. You know, like at this point, Margaret is the one who makes the money in the family. I bring in some money, but not to the same degree that she does. Uh, so so it's been an interesting um, journey to see how our roles, Margaret and mine, have switched in relation to our kids. Livia is also a big personality. She takes up a lot of oxygen. Lucy was much more easygoing. She also, Lucy tends to operate a lot under the radar. She won't tell us what's going on a lot of the time. And, you know, the fact that she's a second child, we were just generally more permissive with her. She's also a much less oppositional kid. So, you know, we let her do more things that she wanted. She is definitely a much more focused child. Anyway, if you ever have kids, you'll see. I mean, so much depends on what the kid is like. I mean, no kid comes with a manual, obviously, and you know, you kind of have to figure out as each kid comes along. So sorry for that abrupt ending. I'm not sure exactly why that happened. Just to finish my thought, so much depends on the kid. So much depends on the kind of friends they make, the environment that they're in. You just don't know. So I hope this has been a good talk. I think I'll leave it at that. I've talked about the kids some. I think maybe, depending on what type of questions you have, we can discuss those, or I can get more into what it's like to raise a child. When I said at the beginning that I hope you find the right partner, obviously you can always have kids on your own. That would be your choice, but I would definitely advise you to find someone, definitely someone that you love, that you could raise the children with. It's a huge help. So hope you're well. Take care. Bye.